And okay, our recording has resumed for the second part of the Cultural Access Review Board evaluation and funding recommendations for the impact grants in for 2026-2027. Where we last left off is all applications have been reviewed, scores have been updated. We have provided the averages of the average scores for both the Lopez Community Center for the Arts and San Juan Community Theater with conflict of interest amongst reviewers for their totals to be scored and settled. And so now when we look at this information, what we have done is we have sorted it by highest scoring applications amongst organizations. Now we have what their funding requested is. Because of some a lack of clarity about what I produced for a budget sheet, there was at least one instance, though I thought there were more, where someone took a different interpretation of how the match works in particular. And so their current ask is where the cultural access funds are more than 50% of their overall budget. And that was how that was meant to be interpreted, was that of your total, income revenue, cultural access funds cannot be more than 50% of your overall, income for that project. But what they did was they asked, I think, and we'll get there, but like the Williams asked for like 17,360, and then their match was 50% additional for that. So their ask is for more than 50% of their overall project income. So we'll get there. But just want to make a note. And that's one of the big portions to make sure that is made more clear for next year's granting areas. And then from here, we will include columns for funding recommendations for each of these organizations. And then that will total down here. And then, that total will be subtracted from remaining funds to keep track of the remaining funds available to award for this cycle. Does that all make sense to folks? Okay. So do reviewers?
I just want to see the whole list. Can you?
Oh, yeah, fine.
So
You can't.
so 11. A little small.
That's how I can get you all of it.
No, I should scroll down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Apologies.
You didn't have to.
I thought you wanted it all in one view.
No.
Okay.
I meant just scroll.
That I can do.
Okay, so
let me start back top. Okay, so here we are in this particular section through the Pride Foundation.
okay.
And then
below the Pride
here's SMAG and bottom being French Island or French Camp, and that is
Okay.
So is there a particular format in how this board would like to discuss funding recommendations? Should I go pull up the budget? So if we want to, do we want to go through and discuss these one at a time from highest scoring down by the budget sheet and what proposed revenue and expenses are part of that? Do you want to just award off of the fact these were highest scoring applications? How would you like to evaluate and recommend funding amounts?
Well, here's a question. Can you put in the amounts, the funding request amounts until it reaches 3, whatever that amount is?
So a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Because then we can take from some of these, if we decide.
Sure.
And so Bill did a cumulative run where if you did granted everything they asked for here,
Did you delete it or just hide it? You deleted it.
I did.
Well, it also changed because Lopez and the San Juan were way down at the bottom.
We can recreate it. My only thought being, and I guess that's a function of how you want to, because my thought was if you wanted to do partial awards for as many organizations as possible, that seeing what remaining funds you have to award being available versus seeing a running cumulative total might be helpful. And that's how my brain works, but I can put Bill's cumulative
so my brain works like, okay, the top 15 get fully funded and the bottom 10 don't. But I don't really want to fully fund the Alchemy Center. I'm saying we take some of that, I would be moving money from that down there. One of the things I'm seeing now, and not that I'm an advocate for Orcas, it looks like in terms of like county equity, the Orcas ones are at the bottom. There's one at the top. So I don't know if we want to talk about geographic
Yeah.
diversity as well,
Equity.
equity.
Well, then also if you do that, then Canoe Island is all on its own. It's
Right.
only outer island kind of,
Right.
you know, and then it's at the very bottom too, so. I laid it out in, like, I have this little cheat sheet, but I have how many from Orcas, San
Mhm.
Juan, Lopez, and. You know.
Is Canoe Island not part of any of the islands? I mean, it's gotta be connected to somewhere,
I don't think it's an island.
really?
Mhm.
Well, I mean. I get that. It's closest to Shaw, but.
I believe it would fall within District 3 because it's between Shaw and Lopez.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, Jane. Thank you.
Okay.
I had another question for you guys. I don't have an answer. It's a question legitimately for you all. I do notice that you've got a couple entities that have, you know, scores within the 300 ranges up near the top. And so it just causes me to ask the question, okay, so they hit a certain percentage amount that popped them a little further up, but then what do the scores mean? What relevance do the scores have? And then I also heard you guys talking about, you know, maybe partial awarding for some entities, but not all. And then it starts getting really complicated if you don't land on how you want to make your decisions around awards. And again, I'm just speaking from experience on LTAC last fall, but just a thought. to
Just
throw in
LTAC,
this.
how do they, what's their like system for full versus partial?
System.
Yeah, go ahead, Janet. I'll let you speak to that.
I don't know if it's a system, this is different, there's a score sheet, like all the years I did it, we didn't really have a score sheet.
Oh, okay, so that is different.
It is different.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you can't really,
Okay,
I mean, I think moving forward, that's going to change.
Mhm.
And I think you can't really compare because they're really.
Okay, gotcha.
Official. I mean, there was kind of one, but we didn't really go by it.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just add to what Janet just said there. Part of my realization last year being the chair on LTAC was that there was a lack of procedure and process, and that was a significant problem. So the core awards were clear cut, right? So core entities of the Lodging Tax Advisory, the Lodging Tax Fund would receive their core amounts, and we're also invited to submit additional projects. And so that's when things, those additional projects alongside all the other applicants, that's when things started getting a little more fluid. So I wrote a handover note of some detail asking the county organization to please establish some clear guidelines and process and guidance, not only for the coordinator of the fund, but also for applicants. So yeah, that's where that is.
Did you get the, okay, so now we can see the list with the, if we fully funded until we ran out of money.
It seems like we got rid of the qualitative part of the numbers here, and because of how we went through each specific one of these after the fact, and we were able to change the scores a little bit to. So it's definitely, it's not based off, so if we use the percentage, I think we'd be close to making it, if not have a surplus, if we, for example, did 97% of 25,000, 90% of 17,360, 96% of 16,322, etc. I think it would make it, and it would kind of satisfy our quantitative analysis that we filtered down by doing that whole step that we did before lunch, you know? So
That's an interesting,
that's my idea.
that's a really interesting idea.
I think we'd make it because the average was 15,500 per. It
Right.
was $385,000 divided by 24,
Right.
that's 15,000, so. Not everyone's asking for the full amount, and it's dispersed in a way that we agreed on, you know, and reanalyzed.
Don't worry about the percentage sign. We'll fix that as soon as after you do your formulas.
Yeah, I'm trying to, so this would be equals. I,
Yeah, total percentage
Total
times
percentage.
funding requested.
Ooh, the red box, not good.
do we not use the X?
No, it's
No.
asterisk. Yeah. Now, just grab that.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it.
So now, let's see, so this would be sum of H2 through H25.
I think what he was saying is,
Pretty close, though.
yeah,
Yeah, it's still,
Yeah,
the grant would be in accordance with whatever percentage we gave.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's,
okay,
that's what these numbers are. So of the 25% or 25,000, it is
97% of 25,000 is
24,333.
Hmm.
And
97% of 17,000 is
16, 8.
so, but use the Orca Center as an example, so they're requesting 25,000 is 87%, 21,000.
87% of 25,000. Yes, it's 21.
Okay,
just adding it, yeah.
That's super interesting.
Can you go down, scroll down to the bottom? And then,
So of our $385,000 available dollars, you have $445,000.
so we'd still have to make, but it's I like this, I like this approach.
That goes on, maybe what I was saying earlier this morning is. Let's just say, oh, in my mind, I knew it wasn't going to be $800,000 this year because it wasn't a fully funded tax year.
Correct.
And I didn't know the amount, I didn't know it was 375. And that's why I was saying, okay, when the applicants applied, they were applying for the maximum that said 25, what if it said 20?
Mm-hmm.
And so we put it, and we said, well, you know what, we adjusted it from 25 to 20. And then we ran these numbers with everybody then, because we want to get money, in my opinion, to everybody that's doing something for the community. Is, you know, that's my position. They're all benefiting the county in some way. So, anyway.
Can you scroll to the bottom again, Brandon? So I think, okay, can we, if we sit, you know,
so just, I'm not gonna say the group at this point, there's one that keeps popping into my mind, and I feel like it's an event, and I know, I mean, it's just such a huge ask for one event, and so there's, I think,
Which one
there.
are you referring to?
Well, Island Prides has like $10,000 for an event, and their bigger speaker is 3,200, and so for one event, I struggle to think about why one event would have so much money when you get the Ag Guild, and the Ag Guild has like, you know, like 15 or some odd, you know, and they're asking for less money for
And-
multiple events.
And I know it doesn't, because I don't remember if LTAC asks it on the front side, but no, to that point, they have one really big, really, are you talking about the festival itself in June?
Yeah.
I don't know what their numbers were last year, but when it was held here like 2 years ago, there were like 2,000 people here. And so what is?
Oh, for the Ag. No,
No, I'm saying for the Pride Festival,
Oh,
because you're kind of like,
okay.
you know, for one event, it's now down at Brickworks, so I don't know what the numbers are, but like when it was here, it was about 2,000 people. And so what is the consideration of
a big,
a high volume
Yeah.
big event, which is a series of smaller events that
Yeah.
its total number served may still be smaller? I don't know, just for consideration.
Right, and then the bigger picture too, are we talking number, like, 'cause I know LTAC kind of focuses on how many people you can bring in, and like, is that our focus, or is it, you know, more diversity, because that's what Pride event is about, so There are all these factors. I just wanted to put in there.
No, that's totally, and I think that's what makes this, to me, more difficult, honestly.
Yeah.
Is because, LTAC is, what are you proposing to do? How many people will put heads in paid lodging for? And is that the greatest value of those dollars? Where the very purpose of these funds are to support programming, and it's about equity, a lot about culture and equity inclusion, which are so much squishier. And so that is, I think, in part why it's more difficult to algorithmatize the effort, and some level
Yeah.
of values are gonna have to be called for. Jane?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So I just want to be clear that I'm tracking this correctly. So what you're proposing right now in this table is that the entities that have applied are all going to get some percentage of the funding that they've asked for based on the percentage that the allocation of points adds up to. Is that correct?
That is one idea being discussed right now. Yes, column H represents this percentage of their funding requested equals this dollar. And there's a conversation about whether that is a mode or in part one way to determine how to
Yeah.
make.
Okay, I'm going to share a perspective on that. Obviously, it's up to you guys as board members, but when entities applied for, things start getting complicated. In my experience, when you start as a committee or a board making a decision on a portion of an allocation of the amount requested, because that could be harmful or helpful to the entity. It could be harmful in that they may not have the rest of the monies to fill the gap on what's needed to undertake what's being proposed. So that's something that could happen. Also, I don't know whether there was any communications, Brandon, to applicants as to whether or not they might be fully funded or partially funded or not funded at all. I'd be
The
interested in.
guidelines, the
Yeah.
guidelines say that you may not be funded and you're not guaranteed full allocation of what you are requesting.
Okay, okay. So then another question I want to ask you guys is, this approach that's being taken in terms of a percentage of the ask based on where you landed with your points, it assumes that you want to fund every single entity that applied to you. And is
I
that
don't think
is that
I don't think that's that last part, Squire. I think it was a generous thought exercise by Mr. Feld of,
okay?
could we look at it that, like, would this application, by providing a very clear metric of why a proportionality was given because you were scored, and if that's your percentage against this, would that get us down to the amount of available funds
Gotcha. Yeah,
in a
I
way that
understand.
doesn't feel so discretionary? Does that feel accurate, Josiah?
If, like, for example, if we, yes, it was very accurate. But if we got rid of like the bottom 5, then we would be able to, we'd be at
We'd go home early.
385,000, but we want to be able to keep these guys, they're important, all of them. We determine they fit the criteria for the grant, so.
So I guess, a related question, just to throw this in the mix, is if you look, just take the bit of an outlier, which is the Canoe Island Camp, which is a $4,000 ask, and based on a 68% allocation of their ask, are we whittling down their the beneficiary and impact to maybe 4 children in the county if they were only looking at funding 7? Like, so I'm encouraging you to be thinking about whether or not you indeed do want to fund all of these things because you legitimately see them all making an impact. And so I'm challenging you all to give some thought to the fact that you ranked all of these and that you reflect on why and how you ranked them. And so anyway, that's all. But I do appreciate, the exercise you're going through. Is just, I'm playing devil's advocate a bit here.
Certainly, thank you.
We had another column that just
Yeah.
funds it till we run out of money.
Yes.
You can see it, it ends
But I really like the notion of reflecting
That is what this.
the qualitative
Oh, thank you.
score, we all looked at the Historical Society and the Ag Guild and, you know, some of this stuff at the top was a really good proposal, really meets the criteria. Not 100%, but darn close. You get down to the bottom and yeah, I'd like the canoe camp. Actually, I don't, but that's, they don't fit. The proposals don't fit the request nearly as well as the stuff at the top. So for me, I would get rid of, and I can't read these well enough, Brandon, but I'd get rid of at least the bottom four.
Are you saying that principally you're into the percentage, so
Yeah.
the scores matter, and then you subtract up from the bottom until you clear?
And I'd
The
say,
amount
look,
of-
if you didn't get 80% of the points that were available, we're gonna say, do better next year.
Yeah.
So I'd get rid of the bottom four, I guess,
Bottom five.
bottom five. And that leaves us, you know, allocating what, 430,000 out of whatever the,
We have like 385.
So
oh, I'm
basically,
sorry, I'm looking at the wrong column.
so basically, these Orcas Island Historic Museum, Salmon Master Corral, Funhouse Commons, Made in the San Juans, and Canoe Island French Camp, if those were not funded, you would have enough to percentage allocate the rest of the proposals.
Correct.
You know, there's a 2:30 ferry, by the way.
Hey, whoa,
Sorry, what?
there's a 2 there.
There's a 2:30 ferry.
Well, it gives us another 40
And-
minutes to argue.
Oh, I'm just gonna caution you against making decisions on allocations based on ferry departure times,
No,
just,
Jane, that was-
had a
was
bad
joke.
experience with it last year, you guys, just don't go
It
there.
was, it was a joke.
So, that's the question of the board. Is that how you'd like to go about this? Like, to me, I think the benefits of the system is that it means the scores in the application mattered. You did something with it other than being a
Yeah.
sorting tool. It gave, you know, because I think as Jane can attest, when you start getting into partial funds, who, how much and why can be a very difficult conversation of where you start going through here. And here's the thing, there is room for it. And I don't think it would be inappropriate because, you know, as I look back at this list of things further down, you know, 404 found. We didn't particularly love that they imported all of the artists, and we wanted, like, should it be for more local artists? Like, did you want to partial fund that more than just the percentage rate? Like, I think there is a real legitimate conversation to have here, like Salmon Master Corral that would be shut out once. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
And again, these are for examples, not my personal judgment calls. But you know, I know that was one that seemingly would make it to the funding round in this format. But there were concerns about that. Meanwhile, San Juan Master Corral seemed to have, you know, I think folks felt that their community benefits portion in particular was poorly written. But that the programming was strong. So like, that's the benefit, I think, is to be able to kind of talk about those things in partial awards. But if you want to, hey, we judge things as they were written, which is how grant applications go. And there was a number assigned and we did that percentage to each application. I think that makes a ton of sense, but I think if it matters to this board, that is what you're missing, is the opportunity to have that conversation and those adjustments. But I think there's and not that it's important because it's really mine to have to step in front of anyone who's upset, is there's something very clear about how partial awards were decided. And let me tell you, as someone who has to take those phone calls, that is nice. About instead of, well, this is, you know, after discussion and you can see it recorded online. The board had to balance XYZ in these considerations, which I will do, have done, and will continue to do for various things for you to consider. Jane.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I think there is something clean for the board about, you know, being able to say, okay, those bottom 3, 4, or 5, in the allocation of points that the board members gave them, they didn't quite reach a certain threshold. And it's okay for the board to decide you didn't quite reach that 80% threshold, which was not a phenomenally difficult threshold to meet, but it gives you the flexibility of saying no to some at a minimum with a legitimate baseline that you can establish was there for you all. And it gives some rationale for allocating points and entities proponents trying to score points. So I think that's a little cleaner. And then to the point you just made about you know, partial allocations, Brandon, that it does get exceedingly complicated. And I think if you're going to do any partial allocations, you need to have a good basis upon which you decide to do that, because it does start getting kind of messy when you start deciding, well, I'm going to give this entity 20,000 of the 25 that they asked for because I want to give 2,500 to this entity and 25. It really, so the more clarity you guys can establish for yourselves, I think the better.
I also think the 80%, if we're looking at the 80% as a cutoff, that's a pretty healthy partial fund. That's the bottom partial funding. I mean, if you're getting 80% of a request,
Great day.
and that's the lowest. So, I mean, it's not great for the 5 below that, but
Yeah.
so you're getting almost 100% to 83%, I think.
John, thoughts, because I know you had, you know, you were a particular voice for Canoe Island French Camp, who would be.
No, I agree with just the principle everybody's discussing here. I really like Josiah's idea, so I'm on board.
Just, I don't know if it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised after if we go with this evaluation method and that is shared with council, if that is maybe not considered for how partial awards will go in other granting programs,
This is
you may
smart.
have just changed granting forever.
Well, it just makes sense because we went through the process of that
Give
extra
me the
filter, right?
percentage, yeah.
And so it eliminated, for example, which one was, I think it was Made in San Juan's, right? They were asking for
Yep.
25,000 for a digital program they haven't
Right.
even dreamt up yet. They just know that they need the money
Right.
and AI can magically make things appear when you start pushing buttons. So we already did that with our work. We sort of eliminated that 25,000 to, right, maybe potentially 0, but that percentage reflects like a whole bunch of things, community, you know, a lot of things. So
And again, as an, I've worked in,
Equitable access,
Yeah.
economic stability.
I think the numbers
Enhanced
reflect that really
education.
well, like
Yeah.
the way we process that.
and as the
That
sad news
information.
of getting 82% of your funding, that's
Man, it's great. Yeah. Good for the island.
partial
too.
funding of like 14% is not great, but it's like,
Yeah.
that's a healthy
And
partial fund.
yes. And I imagine, if this is the recommendation of the board and we go with this, so part of, you know, what happens next for us is to inform folks of the tentative recommendations from the board. And I think we would need to ask folks if the partial recommendation is enough for them to accept,
Yeah, I
to
think that's
fulfill that, because that's also, to me, part is tied into the conversation about making sure that they have good contract deliverables. So like, if these are your contract deliverables, is this partial funding, which again, everyone's 82% or higher, I would suspect
They're
so.
gonna say,
But
yeah,
it does provide an opportunity to say, actually, no, we can't. And then I'm going to assume that the board's recommendation would be if someone turned down their funds to fund the next program down
Yeah.
to available funding, to available funds. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And right there too. It works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just to throw something out there as someone who writes grants. On one of the grant applications that I write, they have a section on there that says, if you are not funded, what will this do to your project or your programming? And that allows, you
Should
know,
probably make it into our application.
totally.
so I think that may be a recommendation.
I think I have those a note somewhere in something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've taken like the emails people have sent me throughout this, and we are keeping them into a folder of just running notes of things that we want to keep track of as we assess this going forward. So, and this is not me trying to push anyone or this board in any particular direction, but do I hear a consensus that this evaluation
Thank you,
and
Josiah.
funding mechanism
My autism.
is what you would like to put forward and recommend. Is that correct?
Good with me.
Yeah.
Works here.
Okay,
Again, I think because we took the time to come up with the percentages in the first place, it has some relevance to the awards.
That's what I was thinking. If
Yeah.
it was just an exercise, then it was kind of not helpful, but this really makes it.
Yeah.
A concrete thing that we can,
Measurable.
yeah, and you can also say this is why it happened, that you didn't get funding or partial funding.
Yeah.
Pretty detailed about every single one. We read them and discussed how we changed
okay.
up and down.
So, with that, Jane, any remaining thoughts or, as someone who will be speaking as the council liaison in the full council session about, how these funds were awarded, any particular thoughts or feelings?
Other than to support the approach you've taken, no, not really, because I really, what I really appreciate about this as well is, those numerical allocations to the different criteria that you grouped, based on how the application was laid out. And therefore, the numeric allocation of points, was very much relevant to the process, the score that you all respectively landed on, and then that you conferred on and agreed to. And it's ideally what I would have liked to have seen created for both PFAP and LTAC, and I think we're getting there. But I think Janet will attest that this isn't how it's been done in the past, and consequently, it's been a little too. It's not been a sufficiently robust process. So, I really like how you've approached giving some numerical allocation and then asking each other to, do you stand solidly in your allocation? Do you want to adjust at all? And I think, so for me, this feels the way I would like to see it going forward. I think that this is a solid system.
Excellent. Yeah, I think yeah, I really appreciate it. I think it's worth considering for these other county granting programs for, considering that, because yeah, I've read some of the emails that have come in when things feel too discretionary, to some of those other programs, and it can get heated and, difficult and maybe even inappropriate. And and yeah, coming up with a, question criteria to be scoring, whether, the 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like we did here, or something different or similar. But I think the principle of, percentages, I think speaks quite well to, who, what, and why. Okay, with that, I know no chair has, I think we were supposed to have elected a chair and vice chair as a technical advisor committee for our one meeting. But in lieu of that, maybe folks would be, amenable to me as the staff liaison, though I'm not the chair, making a motion to recommend these programs and funding levels as presented here, just so I've got something official that tells me this is where we're moving forward.
Do
Is
you need
that
a
okay?
second?
I'll take a second. All in favor of, these funding levels?
Yes, for discussion first.
Oh, yes, sorry. Any further discussion? Discussions about that, yeah, a modified version of Robert's orders, Robert's Brandon's orders. Any further discussion on it? Okay, I think we're good. All in favor? There it is. There are no opposed. So, who funded for how much, et cetera, is settled. There is a 2:20 ferry. Congratulations to our other islanders on getting home at a reasonable
I
hour.
think mine was a 3 something.
I think we normally send Joe home on the 2:20.
Oh, okay. I guess maybe I didn't even look that early.
Just didn't think it would be possible.
I did not.
Yeah, Janet, it stops at Lopez first. It does the T in reverse. So
Wow.
2:30.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Gosh.
I'm on it for a long time.
2:20. Yeah.
Geez.
You could
Follow the
wait till
Discovery
5.
Channel.
That's like a huge perk. Oh my goodness.
So, for until ferry time, would folks be interested in doing a deeper after action review of looking at application materials, guideline materials, review, like, or do we want to say that for another day? Just like fully capturing, what we could be looking at for next year. Do we want to talk about structural things of, do we think it's best to have the impact for smaller organizations and comprehensive for larger, how we'd want to attempt to do total percentage of funds into those two things? So not, I don't think it's imperative we have those conversations. Everything according to the resolution that council passed as to what your duties are has been completed. Anything that is left is out of the kindness of your heart. God bless.
I don't mind talking about the two grants.
Mhm.
Thoughts about application, I'd like to make some notes, I'd like to, and then send those to you if that, I mean, that,
Yeah.
I just wanna go through and.
Take some individual
Yeah.
time to gather
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually stayed longer to tell this through, so I'm fine with staying. I think having a discussion since we're here and we've had this time allocated to
your
be here,
Yeah.
that we could definitely talk about next year's granting cycle. I think
That
it would
was
be
my
nice.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Use the time we've been given.
yeah.
Until 2:30.
Until 2:30.
No.
Jane, for the rest of this conversation, because again, according to the resolution, the work that they need to do is done. Do we need to continue recording this for public record sake, or at this point has this, like, essentially the Cultural Access Advisory Board been convened and now it's a volunteer working group on how to make these things better?
If this wasn't agendized, then you would want to end the recording, or you could end the recording. And what I would encourage, though, you to do is capture what's discussed here as part of your own sort of minutes to improving going forward or adjusting going forward. So, I mean, really two ways, Brandon. You can turn the recording off and just sort of do some musing out loud, and capture what learnings there are, that you could then revisit when you next meet, when you next convene for a subsequent preparation phase for the next round.
Okay, excellent.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes the best sense. Is we'll go ahead and stop recording and then we will take, yeah, because we want to keep notes. We have work to do.
Yep.
And so recording stop.